Good afternoon, everybody. Well, we've still got people going through line. We're behind a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first lunch keynote speaker. So I want to introduce Ryan Ferrari.
There I will take Ferrari.
He'll take a Ferrari. Ryan Fiera. Well, we're still getting. Anyway, he's a regional advisor consultant for Columbia Threadneedle Investments. He's going to speak for just a few moments, and then you guys know Dave and Phil from Exxon, and they're going to come up right after that and give us a couple minutes to switch out computers, and then we'll keep on going from there. Then we'll get you back to your breakout sessions after this. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Ferry. I'm the Regional Advisor Consultant for Columbia Threadneedle Investments. I work with Josh Kane, who some of you heard earlier today during his breakout session. When him and I were talking about this conference, we had a couple of ideas to talk about different presentations, and one thing we wanted to focus on was retirement. This is one of my favorite presentations because I feel like it's a different take on retirement. So many times when you talk to your financial advisors, you focus on the dollars and cents of getting to retirement, but not a lot of people think about when you actually do get to retirement, what am I going to do? I know a lot of you out there like me say, when I get to retirement, I'm finally going to relax. It's going to be one big party. I'm going to go out and play terrible golf every day, listen to the hand relay. But a lot of times that isn't actually how it goes. So I know we're a little condensed the time here, but these are the 7 things no one tells you about retirement. I'm going to focus on the wrong top 10 list, the unspoken side of retirement, and the major transition as well. So a study was done in the 1980s. 2 psychologists interviewed 5,000 people. They were asked to list the top 10 most stressful life events and then rank them on the scale of 0 to 100. So a couple of things you see on this list here are pretty common. The most stressful event that someone can go through is the death of a spouse, of course. Number 2, divorce. Number 3, marital separation. Number 4, jail term. The thing that stands out to me, on this list, the same list that has divorce and a jail term, retirement is on this list. I'm not sure about you, but growing up, I've been told to save for retirement. I've been told that retirement is one big party. Why is retirement on a list of the top 10 most stressful life events? Well, it's because there's a major change in your lifestyle when you get to retirement. Several things change. Number 1, your spouse could stop work. I'm no marriage counselor, but I heard from my boss during COVID when he was home a couple more days per week, the marriage became a little strained. Death of a close friend, change the number of arguments with the spouse, different lines of work. And a lot of that can lead to a couple things that are a little unsettling when you get to retirement. So, and I promise you this is the most depressing slide in the presentation. A lot of people in retirement do face depression. Retired people are actually twice as likely to report feeling symptoms of depression. The likelihood of clinical depression actually rises 40% once you enter retirement. The second one hits close to home for me, isolation. I was not a fan of the COVID years. The first week of working from home, fantastic. The time of the second, third week, I was going crazy. I'm pretty entertaining, but I can only entertain myself for so long. So 25% of seniors 60 and over actually reported feeling isolated, and the one that really strikes home for me is 43% go days without talking to people. That would drive me absolutely crazy. The last one, unfortunately, is addiction. Alcohol is the most commonly used drug in the world. 65% of people 65 and over are reported to have a high risk of drinking. A man once said, Jimmy Buffett, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. If you're not working the 9 to 5, the 5 o'clock can be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It can soon be noon. You can even be in the morning. It's very slippery slope once you start going through that. As I mentioned, retirement was always billed to me as this great thing that once you get to it, it's a big party, all your problems are solved. And that is true in a lot of sense. You do gain some things in retirement. You gain time, you gain freedom, and apparently you gain energy. I'm 30, I'm already tired. I don't think I'm going to get any more energy, but that's what they tell me. The things you do lose when you get to retirement, though, is your routine identity. For 40 hours a week, you know exactly where you're going to be and what's expected from you. You need to find a way to fill up those 40 hours once you reach retirement. Mental stimulus, again, you're at work 40 hours a week. Where are you going to find that same stimulus once you enter retirement? Social connection and physical activity. Now, you guys are a slightly different group of people that I normally talk to. All of you out there are business owners, so you guys already have something going on with you. But the reason I bring up this slide is to try and find other outlets for what you do after you're done working and you do get into retirement. So positive emotion of completing a big project, what would give you that same feeling of accomplishment once you enter retirement? And the biggest thing where the retirement cliche goes wrong is, as I said, it's not about the dollars and cents of retirement. It's a retiring to something, not just with something. So that's why I always put in this point of protecting yourself from yourself. Like investing, your mind is your own worst enemy. So protecting yourself and planning for the future outside of just the dollars and cents is just as important as planning for what you're going to do when you get to retirement. I'd like to pass it off back to Darren in a few moments, but I would love to introduce Josh Everett Jones. I think he does a great job as a financial advisor to help you get there financially, but he is one of the few financial advisors I work with in the state of Oklahoma that puts on conferences like this to help you think about the other side of retirement and help you get involved with clubs and meetings like this. But thank you for your time today, and I'll hand it back to Darren, wherever he is.
All right, thank you so much. Give us just a moment to change out computers real quick, and then we'll get Dave and Phil going.
Hello, everybody. Hello. How are you guys? Who is Enclave here? Somebody from Enclave here? Those are gorgeous. Enclave did this arrangement, that beautiful.
Actually, I did, but he's ordered supplies.
Is that true?
Whatever she said.
There you go.
She also did the centerpieces.
Let's do this on one of the computers.
Which was a lady of many skills. We appreciate you. I'd be over doing the technology, but as Dave will tell you, anybody that knows me, I'm more of a big chief and crayon kind of guy.
Were you a Marine?
No, I actually scored high on my ASVAB.
Three tenants.
Second.
3 tenants.
For 10 minutes. Well, while Darren and Dave are working on this, I would like everybody to recognize Darren and everybody that's helped put this on today. They've done a great job of giving them a round of applause. Very good. You know, as a veteran myself, Dave's also a veteran. You know, it's great when you get back together with your brothers and sisters and joke and tease each other like I just did, and have some fun and spend time with folks that are like-minded, have similar experiences, and just help each other. You know, it's tough out there, whether you have an existing business or you're trying to launch a business, it's hard. You know, and so I think knowing where you can go to get resources is just so valuable and so important. And, you know, after last year's conference, Dave and I had an opportunity to meet with quite a few folks after the conference that came and spent some time with us and just visited. And, you know, when Dave and I merged our companies about 9 years ago, you know, we said that any opportunity we had to help serve brother and sister veterans, we were going to do that. And so this is a great thing that we get to do, and we feel very fortunate we get to be a small part of this today. So thank you, guys. humoring us.
Getting there, Phil. Slowly but surely.
I could have done all this. That's not true. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, I'm going to start today a little differently because it is September 11th, 2024. And over 23 years ago, all of our lives changed. So I want to take a moment to thank you for your service. Recognize that things happen that we don't like. But now, we've risen past that and we've started our businesses. So then we're going to talk about the next chapter in your life, right? You're building a business, you're growing, you're getting stronger and smarter and faster in the business world. But you haven't started thinking about what happens in 5 years, 10 years, when it's time to transition to business.
Yeah, and I think also, Dave and I work with a lot of our clients on succession planning, and I think people don't fully understand what that means, right? It's not just the tools, you know, trust and buy sells and all the things that you need to do, but it's thinking about, if you look at your own personal life, right? And show of hands, who in here has at least a will for their family, right? Okay, when you do that, you've got to sit down and you've got to think about, okay, who do I want, if you have minor children, who do I want to raise my children? Who do I want to do this? Who do I want to do that? It's the same thing with succession planning, but yesterday we were with a client, and later that afternoon, I got an email from him and said, hey, by the way, we just did some updates on some things with our succession plan. You know, and this is a part that I think is really important. If you own a business, you've got to have the ability, I'm going to walk right off this thing, you got to have the ability to pick me up if I fall down, okay? Pick me up. But you got to have the ability to say, if I'm incapacitated, if I'm disabled, become ill, pass away, whatever the case may be, who's going to step in that emergency situation and run this business? And this client of ours was letting me know who he was naming as the president in that type of situation. You know, and it was actually somebody that we were very excited about, but it also was somewhat surprising. Yep. And so, be thoughtful in those kind of things, right? Dave and I are very fortunate to be endorsed by the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association for estate and succession planning. So it's a 5,000 member organization made up of agricultural families, businesses, folks that raise the food that we eat, right? And I'm a big fan of eating, so it's near and dear to us. But you know, if you think about ag families, they might grow up on a farm or a ranch. Okay, it's much more, even more personal than just a normal business, right? Because this is their identity. This is who they are. This is literally is every second of their lives. And it's scary because I was looking at a white paper the other day. 64% of people think wills, just wills, not a complete estate plan, not a complete succession plan, but just wills, they think it's important. What percentage of those people that say it's important to have a will? 32%. Okay? So these big, basic, simple tools, we can talk about this real sophisticated stuff, and I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about some things today in those categories.
We'll get sophisticated.
We'll get good. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about getting your stuff, everybody has stuff. As I like to say, the great philosopher George Carlin said everybody has stuff, right? Everybody has stuff. So how do you get your stuff from here to where you want it to go? You know, forget all the big names and the, you know, the revocables and the irrevocables and the family limited partnerships and dynasty trust and all this stuff you can do. Those all can play a role. But at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get our stuff to the people we want to have it.
So the big thing we're going to talk about is what is succession plan, but more importantly, what is an estate plan and how do you prepare your family for the future? Now I'm going to share this with you. When I was 14 years old, I watched my father in the largest food brokerage in the South pass away right in front of me. There was no plan. There was zero plan. So as a 14-year-old kid, I watched my mother trying to navigate the business world. A Southern belle who went to college as an English major and taught school sometimes for fun, but never really understood the business world. And I watched my family over the next 5 years lose the family business that had been the family for 3 generations.
Yeah, and I think, it's important to try to put faces to situations. David and I were talking about this. He's got to live this with me the last 5 months. I had one of my uncles pass away, Uncle Bobby, lifelong bachelor, never married, never had children. I've talked to him for 30 years about, Bobby, you need to do some planning. When you're gone, and the conversation always ended the same way, shut up, and I won't talk about that. That's what he'd always tell me. And I'd say, okay, and we'd go fishing or go do something fun, and we never talked about it. Well, his parting gift to me, we lost Uncle Bobby 5 months ago. His parting gift was he named me the administrator of his estate. That was his parting gift to me. So I got to go through, I'm still going through, the probate process, all of those. Has anybody ever been through a probate process? It's no fun, is it? You get these strangers telling you what you need to do. You get strangers telling you how you have to do it. You have to go inventory all your loved one's stuff. You have to do all these things, right? And if you do some real basic, simple planning, nothing complicated, nothing crazy, man, oh man, you can really have an impact, a positive impact on your family. My Uncle Bobby loved 2 things. He loved three things. But he loved fast cars, right? He loved weapons.
He loved weapons.
He loved weapons, and then I'll let you guess what the third one was. But he was a fun guy. But when he passed away, he left me all of his weapons, and I thought, well, that's cool. I know Uncle Bobby had a lot of weapons. Dave, tell him how many weapons I inherited.
We lost count at 1,000 plus.
Yeah, crazy, insane. I walked into this house and I'm going, first of all, who lives like this? I'm looking around. Uncle Bobby kind of became a hermit later in his life. Didn't really go out much. If he did, he got in his Viper, 80-year-old driving a Viper. I don't know if you've ever been in a Viper, complete death trap. It only had 3,800 miles on it, and he had bought it new. And so I told David, first I went over, I said, well, I want to take that thing for a drive. I drove it around the block and parked it. I'd have killed myself. It was crazy. But anyway, he didn't have a plan, so we get to deal with all this stuff. We have to inventory everything, you have to report back to the courts, you have to do all this stuff, right? So doing proper succession planning or estate planning can make that whole process much simpler.
Simply stated, all you're doing is writing on paper what your wishes are and putting the legal documents in place so your family can take care of it and your business and your kids if they're involved, okay? It's not hard. The reason this matters, and it's really simple, it provides continuity for the business. It also provides protection for the heirs, tax and legal advantages. And the big thing here, guys, if you effectively plan your business strategy and your exit, you can save a ton of money on taxes. A ton of money on taxes. You can get rid of your tax debt altogether if you're smart about what you do. And I don't think we think about that. And the last thing it does is it minimizes risk for your family and yourself if you're just retiring and moving out of the business.
Now, I'm sorry. I'd also say this, and I think Josh, I'm sure Josh, and we apologize to Josh there earlier, when we picked this topic, I was like, oh, good Lord. So we kind of stepped on what Josh was doing. And Josh, I will say this, Josh Kane, great brother veteran, even though he was a Marine. I guess you still are, right? Don't you guys say you're never not in that part of it? But anyway, I tease him, but he, a fabulous financial advisor. Him and I have found out over the last year that we have some mutual clients. One of my best friends is one of his clients, Eric Little, business owner that's a client of David and I's and a great friend of ours. But I would highly recommend people, when it comes to money matters, to swing by and see Josh, because he really cares. He's committed to doing the right thing. So I appreciate you, brother. But one of the big things you got to do when you're planning from the business perspective, the succession plan, is when you start your business, that's when you start your succession plan, guys. You don't wait until you say, well, I want to retire in 12 months. It's too late. You're not going to get it done. There's too much to do. It's an impossibility. I mean, you can throw something together. It's not going to be something you're like. But you need to start thinking about, how am I going to get out of business when you start your business? You're going to save yourself thousands and thousands of dollars that you don't need to spend. And most importantly, you're going to get what you want for your business. Okay? I mean, a business, who here has owned a business over 5 years? Okay? Kind of becomes who you are, right? Kind of, it's personal, right? It's like a child. I mean, you love your business. You know, you're pouring your heart into it every day. You're risking many times financial security to go start a business. We get to deal with these great things, like taxes. Seems like I never knew how many taxes there were until I started my business, right? But all this stuff's got to be accounted for. Succession planning is just one of those things.
And the last thing to think about here is that 14-year-old kid, right? That's sitting there, and when his dad passes away, there's no plan. Being unclear is being unkind to your family. So if you don't have a plan, you need to write something down today to make sure nothing happens that you don't expect to happen. Because I can tell you, my family was shocked, was absolutely shocked. So this is really simple. If you follow these 6 steps, you're going to be in great shape. So understand your objectives and goals. Define who's going to take the business over. It could be somebody in your family, it could be somebody in the company, it could be anybody you think. But start thinking about who's going to step into your shoes if something happens, or if you decide to retire and move for it. The next thing is just build your plan. We're all military operators. You got to have a plan to execute, right? Get a valuation for your business. It's not hard. There's 3 evaluation methods we'll talk about in a minute, but get a valuation for your business. Know what it's worth. Make sure you have all the legal documents in place, and take the time to talk to an advisor about tax strategies and places you can put your money or how you're going to execute your tax strategy. You can do a life insurance policy. There's 1,000 ways to do it, but you can do that. And then finally, tell people where the plan is. Let people know you have it.
Yeah, I'm going to pick 2 real quick, just briefly. Identify your 6. These are the ones that I think are where there's an art involved, right? Identify your successors. If you identify a successor today, and let's say you don't have your succession plan executed for another 15 years, very rarely is that going to be the same people. People come, people go, right? If you're looking at somebody internally within the business or even externally. The other is communicate the plan. This is the part that hangs up most succession plans and personal family estate plans. You know, I had a client years ago in Wichita, Kansas. He's gone now. I can say this, but he was a big car dealer, and he sat me down. He had 3 children. He'd been a client of mine for about 4 or 5 years at the time, and he said, I really need to do my estate plan. I said, okay, great. And I said, well, just what are you thinking? He goes, I don't want any of my kids to get a penny. That's how it started. And it wasn't because he didn't love his kids. He did love his kids. It was because he said, I had nothing. I had to build my own thing. I've given them a college education. I've given them this, I've given them that. I want them to stand up and I want them to build their own lives. Now, those are not fun conversations to have with your children, right? Most plans, that's an extreme, most personal estate plans go something like this. I've got 3 kids, and let's say there is a business involved in this. Okay, it could be a ranch, it could be a machine shop, it could be a wholesale distributor, it could be a retail store, whatever it is. One of the kids stays in the business and helps you build the business. We'll say Timmy stays in the business, Jimmy moves off to New York and becomes an attorney, and Susie goes to Tulsa and becomes a doctor. Okay? What do you think we always hear when the parents sit down and tell us? They want everything to be what?
Fair.
Fair.
It has to be fair.
Just want to be fair. So how do you make that fair?
You can.
You can. But if you can, no, it's got to be not equal, but equitable. Okay, and there's a big difference. So if Timmy's over here every day pouring his blood, sweat, and tears into growing this business, and brother and sister went out and are doing their own thing, creating their own life, you can be equitable. You can't be equal. Does that make sense? Okay? So, but having those conversations are difficult. You know, my sister, the maddest my sister's ever been to me is when we did my parents' estate plan years ago. I sat down and I said, I want you to do generational skipping. It was the right thing for them to do, get the money over to the next generation, and I thought my sister was gonna stab me. I mean, she didn't talk to me for a while, was not happy. Now, we did get to the part where it got equitable eventually, and then she was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's equitable, right? You know, everybody feels differently about things. There's two things I wanted to make sure that I would get, was an old 30-30 lever action rifle that was my grandfather's and my dad had. I wanted that. And I wanted this silly old jack. This old jack as a kid we'd use all the time because I grew up on a ranch in Kansas. And, you know, those had sentimental meaning to me. They didn't have any real value, right? So communicate, identify your successors, knowing that those are probably not going to be static, they're going to change for a variety of reasons. The other thing is, if you don't have somebody inside your business, and say you don't have a child, or somebody in the next generation wants it, then you've got to still plan for that. You got to look to competitors. You got to look for young people out there that are looking for opportunities. You know, you got to go create your successor sometimes. They're all doable, but you got to communicate and you got to be honest with yourself.
Real simple. There's three places you can find a successor. Inside the family of the company, outside the family of the company, or you can train somebody and develop them into that position over time. Now this is where it gets interesting. Once you identify your successor, there's some things you need to put in place to make sure they're okay. This is one of Phil's favorite topics. It's buy-sell agreements.
Yeah, I mean, buy-sell agreements are a real simple legal document. It's just a way to create cash when needed to buy the business, right? There's all different kinds, there's all different ways to do it. We have never seen a more liquid form, and Josh, I think you would probably agree with this, than utilizing life insurance for a buy-sell agreement, because it gives you cash when needed, right? So we don't know, does anybody here know when they're going to die? I've done it a couple times in my life when I thought I was going to die, but I don't actually know the real date, right? So you know, it's one of those unfortunate things that, you know, we all deal with. You know, my wife and I buried a child 16 years ago. He was 16 years old, healthy every day of his life. In a matter of 24 hours, the good Lord called him home, right? From a sickness that none of us knew he had. Okay? So we don't know. We don't know. When you're doing succession planning, when you're doing estate planning, when you're talking about things like buy-sell agreements, because this is what we hear all the time. Well, I'll just create a sinking fund. I'll just stick cash in there. I make a lot of money. I'll just put cash in there. How much is your business worth? $22 million. Got a lot of extra cash? I mean, what happens if you die next week? That's not a plan. That's a hope and a dream. I mean, you've got to really plan for things, okay? So again, you got to be brutally honest with yourself. Vehicles like buy-sell agreements, again, it's just a legal way to transfer ownership of a business that provides a funding mechanism to make that happen.
So next thing we're going to talk about is business valuation. And there's really three ways you can get through this, right? One is an asset base. I own this much stuff, it's worth this, I'm going to sell it for that. You can do an earnings-based evaluation, right? And that's basically, simply stated, it's an earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization schedule, right? And then you put a value, a numerical value on that, a multiple, if you will, to get the value of business. And the final way to do it is, this is what the business and my market are going for, this type of business. Now, what I would advise, you get people that are really smart at this to do this for you, so you have good numbers and good data to go to market with.
What I will not suggest anybody do is go online and use the free one. That you can listen, this isn't cheap. It's not cheap. We don't do valuations, full disclosure, because we're not attorneys, and that's who attorneys and accountants should be doing valuations. Okay? There's all kinds of software out there where you can get close. If you're okay with being close on something that's important, knock yourself out. But I think, you know, those are one of those things that you really need to find a reputable firm, have them come out and do a valuation, because this isn't something that you want to get wrong. But and then, you know, we recommend, we're working with a client that's thinking about this type of stuff right now. And of course, one of the first questions we ask them is, have you ever had your business have you ever had a valuation on your business? And he said, yeah. I said, how long ago? He said, oh, about 12 years ago. So how long has much changed in 12 years? He goes, well, literally everything's changed in 12 years, right? So it's not something you do once and then you're done, right? You've got to really stay on top of these kind of things. If not, you're going to cost yourself money, either in a transaction where you're selling your business, or you're going to cost your heirs money from a tax perspective, I guarantee it, every time.
The one thing I want you to think about with this is whatever value you put on the street you're going to sell it for, that's probably the most you're going to get, and most people are going to negotiate down, right? So if you don't have the data by an expert, the information from an expert that can validate your value, you're going to have a really tough time selling for the value you want to.
Dave, real quick, I want to go back a couple of just real quick examples. We had a client about 6-7 years ago, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that he engaged our firm. We started working with him, and he was, I've got these people want to buy it. He threw a price out there. It was a good amount of money, but it wasn't. And I'll never forget the look on his face. Said, don't sell. And he was just, because you could tell he really wanted to sell. It was a good one.
Like you sort of flabbergasted was worth?
Flabbergasted, yeah. I think it was like $12 million bucks. $12 million bucks. And we said, let's just do this for 12 months. We'll do these things, put these things in place, start working on some stuff, trying to throw a plan together. And he had done a lot of succession plans. We were at the part where we were going to be actually trying to sell the business. And we did that. And because you do simple planning, pay attention to things, they sold for, what was it? 21 million. So we went from not liking us to loving us, 12 months later. And we always forget to ask for half of the additional money we make on it.
We determined after that, so.
Yeah. But anyway, you've really, the reason I give you these stories is, it doesn't matter how big the number is. The stuff you're going to use, the tools you're going to use, are the same whether you're selling a $200,000 business or a $20 million business. Okay? It's just the numbers are bigger. Right? There's more moving parts because there's more people involved, meaning employees. And that's something with succession planning too. Dave knows this. I had a chance to sell an entity. Still get a little sick when I think about this. But about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, okay. And we had an agreement, agreed on a number, literally came to the day to do the paperwork.
Close, yeah.
And they changed some things that was going to impact employees. And I walked from the deal because it wasn't appropriate for the employees. Okay? Now, then COVID hit, and the value of that business plummeted, and I lost a ton of money, but it's okay. Because those employees are still working, they're still doing their thing, we're coming back from COVID, all these good things. But you're going to make decisions. I hate it when people make decisions based purely on the financial. We got to remember that there's human beings involved, and it's not just you. There's other people involved. So when you're doing succession planning, hopefully you think about those 20, 30-year employees that have helped you build that business. What's this mean to them? That's all part of the succession planning process as well.
I'm going to be real quick on this, okay? If you don't plan, you're going to pay a lot of taxes. If you do plan, you can mitigate taxes. It's that simple. So if you like giving Uncle Sam a lot of your money, don't plan. If you don't want to give Uncle Sam a lot of your money, have a good plan.
We've got a client right now that has a $40 million estate. You know what I'm talking about?
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, currently he's at a $40 million estate. He's 46 years old. $40 million estate. Started working the plan through. He said, well, what am I going to actually owe if I do no planning at my life expectancy? So we ran the numbers. It was $126 million was the estate tax bill. From 46 to him and his wife's joint life expectancy was about 93. Okay? So the state's grown. That was doing a 5% growth assumption. Okay? So, just because you have this size of the state today, you got to remember, we're crystal balling a little bit. Nobody knows when they're going to die, right? And then to add this for estate planning purposes, no estate tax due until what? The second death. right? There's no estate, if you're a married couple, there's no estate tax due until the second person passes to the heirs.
So I'm going to talk about one thing here, and it's life insurance on your funding succession plans. Do your due diligence when you get to this point, but understand the right in life insurance policy is going to cost you a lot less than these other three things to fund your succession plan. Exponentially less. I mean, the math is math. So sit down, look at what an IUL is, look at the rate of returns on it, and the next universal life policy, which is what we're talking about. Do the math. Look at what it looks like in 10 years, 20 years, if you fund it every year. Based on what your business is worth, you are going to be well ahead of anything else for funding this in a tax advantage manner.
Well, listen, it could be an IUL, it could be a whole life, it could be a last survivor, and depending on your situation. For many of our clients, IULs are a good fit, but, what you don't want to do is don't do estate planning with term policies, please. Please, nobody do that. That's a problem. But we're over right now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're about 2 over right now.
Okay, what do we got left, brother?
Let's go to the important stuff.
Go to the important stuff. And Dave and I will be around today and tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, just grab us. Darren will tell you we're very happy to sit down and answer questions and just give you any direction that we can.
Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the team real quick. You need to have a team to help you walk through this, right? That team includes lawyers, financial advisors, estate planning people that have experience in this. Talk to more than one, right? Talk to more than one to understand where you are and what you need to do. The biggest mistakes that we make in this is we fail to plan. That is the number one mistake. We don't make a plan, something happens, and now we're trying to pick up the pieces. Having lived that as a 14-year-old kid, it is horrible. It is absolutely the most horrible thing you ever lived through, and it costs you 40 times more than you expect, because now you're playing catch up. Overlooking the complexities of the situation. But the biggest mistake is a lack of communication. Fast forward to 2017, my mom got really sick and passed away. And I, just like Phil, I didn't want to hear what my mom had to say. She had done all the planning. She also talked to my spouse, and she told her everything. So when she passed away, my spouse had a notebook of everything my mom wanted because she had relayed that plan and communicated with the one person in the family that would listen to her. Because her sons didn't want to hear it. Mom, we're going to die, it's not going to happen. And because my mother over-communicated with my spouse, we knew exactly what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was a godsend.
Yeah, I think in closing, because we got other breakouts we got to get to, but come grab us if you have questions about succession planning, how to structure it, how to start that process, estate planning, any of those types of things. Get with us. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here and investing in each other, because that's what we're really doing. We're investing in each other. And again, Darren, thank you for putting this together. We appreciate it.
Okay, so just real quick, since we are a little bit behind, take about 5 minutes, do what you got to do, and just get to the breakout, so we can have a little bit of time to get things set up. We may shorten the next break by about 5 minutes as well. Instead of 15, it'll be 10 to get it back on track. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of the breakouts. Also, before you go, tonight at 6 o'clock, if you're interested, there's a stair climbing ruck at Toby Keith's downtown, Bricktown, and you're over by the Bass Pro Shop and everything. So have a good time and go down there to that tonight as well. I think that's very important, and Team RWB is putting that on. So be sure and do that as well. What was the other one? That was the only one? Oh, no, it's not the only one. Also, Team RWB has a door prize drawing thing you need to put in for.
Creative travel events.
Oh, I'm sorry, Creative Travel has that. She has too many things going on now. But Creative Travel has a giveaway. Make sure you sign up for that too.
Set up.